Good day and welcome to another exciting day on Obidatti Family TV. This is Diaspora Diaries and I am P. Catch. I'm not alone in the studio as I have my co-host in the studio as always. With me in the studio is the beautiful.
Thank you so much. My name is Ife Grace and you're welcome to Diaspora Diaries.
Yes, you're welcome once again to the program Diaspora Diaries on Obidatti Family TV. Diaspora Diaries is a program where we get to interact with Nigerians in the diaspora who are in support for a better Nigeria and a new Nigeria, and of course, who are obedient. Yes, talking about Nigerians in the diaspora, we have a distinguished Nigerian, a doctor, all the way from London. We have Dr. Francis Oluwaseyi. I'll just do a little bit of introduction. Dr. Francis is a member of the Doctors for Peter Obi support group and also Southwest for Peter Obi. You're welcome to the program, Dr. Francis.
Thank you very much. It's nice to have you. It's nice to be here.
Interesting. I can see you're dressed in your medical regalia and maybe you're in the clinic or somewhere working.
Yeah, something like that, actually.
Okay, yet you had time for this interview. I can see that you're very obedient.
100%.
Interesting. Okay, tell me about the support that P2B has among the community, the medical community, and of course among Nigerians living in London.
Well, the good news about it is that obedient movement is a national, or let me say international acceptability among people. And then the Doctor for Obidatti movement started as far back as July and progresses to like up to now. And we have one of the first sets that even started the medical outreach as far as Taraba State. Doctor for Peter Obi in Taraba, in Benue State, Shali, and as well as in Adamawa State, some part of Adamawa State. And the main aim is where we offer free medical outreach, where we use the opportunity to propagate the movement of Peter Obi to the people as far back as August. And based on the fact that a lot of marches has been held, especially in October, we also part of the obedient movement that joined the movement when we had a rally in October 1st in London, precisely. So the main aim of the unit, especially the Doctor for Peter Obi, is for the medical outreach, which was very, very effective, especially in Taraba State. And we are able to cover the whole 30 local government, the whole local government in Taraba State, and be able to use the opportunity to do medical outreach, preach the gospel, and we can all see the dividends when our principal visited Taraba State that time. And we are hoping that we are going to extend this more, and then we still maintain rapport with people in the eastern part of the country as well as the southern part of the country. And for the southwest of Peter, for southwest, which I also belong to, I am I'm one of the members, but I have the foot soldiers, people that are actually spearheading this. And the main aim is to convince people as much as possible within the southwest region, because I am from the southwest. And I feel like majority of people understand the fact that we have a very good person in Peter Obi. And the main aim is also to propagate. We are able to cover as far back Ondo State, Oyo State, some part of Osun State, and some part of Ekiti State. And we have actually have a lot of dividends, which I believe you are making progress. Let me put it like that. Thank you very much.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of things which we're going to get to in a minute. Okay, but first of all, I'd like to start with exactly what you are doing. You mentioned in the grassroots, okay, to ensure that Peter Obi is voted for and that he wins this election.
Okay, well, the point is about the grassroots. One thing about Dr. for Peter Obi is that we started this movement even before it became well, let me say, before it blown to this level. As I said, we started as far back as August, and the main aim is to use medical outreaches to convince people in knowing the importance of Peter Obi. And on several occasions, some of us including myself, have had a different Twitter spaces to talk about Peter Obi health policy. What makes him different from the other candidates, the status of Nigerian health, and what Peter Obi needs to bring about. So these are part of the things that we are doing. Currently, we are still working, especially in some part of the North Central, as well as the Northeast, towards Taraba and Benue, then coming to some part of the West to actually propagate the West. So in a nutshell, our work was actually very effective, to be realistic, when Peter Obi was just coming up, during the awareness process. But at this stage, we have been so lucky that people, even before we start talking about Obi now, 90% or 99% of people already are aware of his importance. So what we are doing now is to start having an opportunity to talk on the spaces, which you just invited me, and also talk about his policy. That is the message majority of us that are doctors in the UK are trying to pass across, by comparing what and the benefit of his policy and what is likely to change. So our main aim now is to start talking to people and try to compare, encourage them about his manifesto, which I think most people don't even talk about. Hardly we see a presidential candidate talking about health, because they believe that everything is corruption, infrastructure. And unfortunately, the health system in Nigeria is so bad that if you don't get a good leader, we are not likely to get out of it. And we are lucky that we have a principal that have an annual budget proposed of 15% for health, which is the World Health Organization minimum requirement. So those are the things we need to tell people, especially the elite, that don't really understand what is at stake. So in a nutshell, our goal now is to start talking about the policy of Peter Obi to people. In any forum we find ourselves, in our group, within our group, and we try as much as possible to pass the message down to our fellow doctors, our fellow colleagues, nurses that are not in Nigeria, not in the UK, that are in Nigeria precisely, so that they can use the opportunity to talk to their patients. So, and this has been very effective as well.
Okay, I would like to believe that the sensitization that you're doing includes sending materials down, passing down materials on information on how to vote on election day, the logo of the Labour Party. You also mentioned the manifesto of the Labour Party. Does that include all of that?
Well, definitely, but in as much as I said earlier, most of these things were successfully done. I'll be sincere with you, were successfully done during that August, September, October. That is why I have now, in a way, been more active, like more proactive in Southwest obedient movement. So, like, I am part of the Doctors for Peter Obi, quite all right, which we use the opportunity to do a lot of outreaches, which I was very active. But in a nutshell, I also try to shift to Southwest, because when I look at the permutation and the victory path for my principal, Southwest is very, very important. And it's one of the most exposed area, in at least literacy level in the Southwest is very high. So in order for me to go beyond the issue of medical doctors or health-wise, I decided to also go into that kind of support group, which I personally have been very, very effective, both financially, emotionally, and advice. And then the main aim is to spread the party logo, try to synthesize people that this is the party that we need to vote for. It is not about tribe, it's not about ethnicity, it's about competence, character, and capacity. So in a nutshell, the Doctor for Peter Obi are still very effective in ensuring that we pass the materials, as we said. But I am not really an ESCO. I'm just a part of the group. But in the Southwest, I am more involved, because I believe, you just feel like, okay, this is where I'm from, and I think I can be an obedient if I cannot guarantee at least a certain number of local government for myself. So that's why passing the message to Southwest is easier for me through Southwest group.
All right. Let's talk about the Southwest now. So recently we saw some uproar and protests coming up from the Southwest. Just a few days ago, I saw a video of people tearing down posters of APC and Tinubu posters and stuff like that in Ogun State. How would you consider the popularity of our principal, Mr. Peter Obi, in the Southwest?
See, one thing about Peter Obi is this. Peter Obi is the most popular candidate in the Southwest. Forget about what people talk about, but Bola Ahmed Tinubu is popular because he has been there. Well, when we are talking about positive popularity, there's a difference between being famous and being infamous to a bad thing. The popularity of Peter Obi is on the very good side. That is an advantage. The protest, everybody knows that this protest is orchestrated by the APC itself, especially the fact that they are fighting, trying to play what we call a sympathy game towards the populace. But tearing the banner, fine. I don't really encourage those things because, in as much as possible, we're supposed to. Our principal doesn't look like somebody that is a tout. He doesn't encourage such, but it's a sign that a total rejection of a particular candidate or a particular party from the society. So, if I want to be very sincere with you, Peter Obi popularity goes beyond what you can imagine. Everybody, because the Southwest has a lot of middle class, which unfortunately has been wiped out due to the bad economic policy, bad systemic policy from the government. So those middle class are well educated enough to know that bad cannot give them an offer. So the protest is more or less an opportunity for people to express their hunger, and it gives us an opportunity for people to now know who are the party, who are the candidate that is ready to change this narrative. And to be sincere with you, in as much as I don't want to take glory from something that is bad, but I can assure you that it's a positive development for Peter Obi, because people now be able to now have a critical thinking that who can actually change the system. And then presently is a very popular candidate. I can assure you that. I have no doubt. And it will also be like Lagos. The same love we are going to get from the Lagos is what we are going to get in all the southwestern states.
Okay. You know that before now, the politics that we're used to in Nigeria is the politics of tribe and religion. And, Nigerians have been divided across these lines. Do you think that with the candidacy of Peter Obi, the man has said severally, don't vote for me because I'm from the southeast, don't vote for me because of religion or because of it's my turn, but vote for me because of I'm competent and I have the capacity. Okay. So do you think Nigerians are going to be ready this time around to vote away from tribe and all these other sentiments?
See, if you look at all, definitely I believe Nigerians are ready to for those three C's: character, competence, and capacity. Why do we have people like Obasanjo rooting for Peter Obi? Why do we have people like Afenifere, especially Padi Banjo, categorically says that if we don't vote for this man, he will have probably long gone, that we are the one that will suffer it. This has a very enormous effect on the populace. And the funniest thing about it is that Nigerians have tried Yoruba. We have tried an Hausa man. We have tried a Fulani man. There have never been any difference. The fact that if I vote for my brother, Katsina is one of the most terrorized states in the country. And that is the state of Buhari. So the point I'm trying to say is that people are more political conscious. People now understand the consequences of voting bad governance. So people have the ability to make an informed decision to know who to vote for. A Yoruba man believes that even if I vote for the fact that somebody from my tribe is a president doesn't mean that I will enjoy dividends of democracy. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be better than people that are living in the north. So the main priority now is to vote the right candidate. So the point I'm trying to say is that our literacy level, especially in the Southwest, has made us to realize that tribe can only triumph about only on people that are probably associated with a particular political party, or they have a family benefiting from that political party. It is going to be difficult for you to see a neutral Yoruba man that does not have any affiliation for any party now decide to place his tribe ahead of competence based on my own personal research. That is what I'm trying. So the only people that you can see that Yoruba probably clamoring for a particular candidate is, if you check them very well, one, either they are part of the government, two, either they are family benefiting from the government, or three, they decided based on personal hatred, which can be their own personal issue. But if you have a very neutral man, just innocent man, which is considered about 70%, most of them will vote based on the capacity and competence. That is why the polls has been positive for our principal, because people believe that we cannot afford to make mistakes. These two political parties, PDP and APC, have run this country to a PRS minimum. The rate at which doctors are migrating now is more than what anybody can imagine. And if we continue this way, it may end up that we may not even have a doctor to treat us again in Nigeria.
That's too bad. Okay, I'm going to give space for Grace to ask you her own questions.
Yeah, firstly, Dr. Olu, I want to appreciate you guys over there doing a great job. I see that. We really appreciate that. So now my question is, what role do elections play in the life of Nigerian citizens?
Okay. See, all our life is actually surrounded by the who will become our leader. And that has been the major reason why Nigeria and Africa as a whole has been completely backwarded. People living in diaspora, European countries, United States, China, all those places, they know the consequences of voting bad governance. Before the emergency of Peter Obi, what we normally have is a politician buying fruit on the road, buying corn, doing all those things, not talking about the issues that relate to their citizen, which means that it is very easy for them to come out after they have performed woefully and said, I didn't promise this. So what I'm trying to say is that Peter Obi emergency have changed the dynamics of things. I've indirectly made people to be conscious of the fact that if you don't have a leader that is accountable, if you don't have a leader that has sympathy, if you don't have a leader that knows different from bad and good, if you don't have a leader that is likely to surround himself with people that are going to move the country forward, you are likely to have a worst scenario. So imagine we having a scenario that is so bad currently, now having another one that is now worse. So automatically we are heading to doom. So the point here is the role of election is an opportunity for a leader, for populists to determine who leads them. We have been used to a situation whereby people buy votes, people cajole based on the fact that religion, ethnicity. But now, people now understand the consequences. People are being killed. Nigeria have the highest maternal mortality rate in the world, highest infant mortality rate in the world. The doctor to patient ratio is 1 to like 30,000. A lot of things is bad because of bad policy, even naira scarcity, fuel theft, all this is as a result of bad policy. And we have a leader that is talking. So people have the opportunity to now choose that if you vote for this person, the likelihood of continue from this party is high. But if you decide to take a change, this is the best person. So your leader determines what is likely to be your outcome. And if you have a drug lord as your leader, you're definitely, by the time you travel out of the country and you understand that your passport, because the mindset of anybody looking at your passport, like their president have this kind of criminal record. So they have the tendency of becoming like this. So in a nutshell, we need to understand that election have consequences, and people believe that now, unlike before.
Okay, to add that up, by voting, citizens are participating in a democratic process. Do you think we Nigerians practice that?
Well, we now, as I said earlier, as far back as 2015, there are a lot of ways people don't count. There are a lot of rigging. But now now, especially with the obedient movement, you can see that 90% of obedient movement is being championed by people. because people now demand for change, which has never happened in the history of Nigeria. So if I want to judge based on present situation, the participation level now is at 100%. We hope that we continue to maintain this trajectory. But if you compare with those previous elections that we have had in Nigeria, the politicians determine how they move, they determine our pace, they determine the desire of the country, of the people. So which means that there is a paradigm shift from the status quo to the normal norms now, which is what we have. So I can confidently say that people are more interested in this democratic process compared to the past.
Okay. So a lot of our medical practitioners have fled the country. I believe someone like you studied in Nigeria before moving to the UK. Okay.
Yes.
Probably did some other studies there before you started practicing.
Yes.
Do you think the candidacy of Peter Obi will bring back our professionals back to Nigeria and get them to work in this country and develop the system in the country?
Well, let me be sincere with you. I always tell people, if Peter Obi becomes Nigerian president, I can guarantee that 50% of Nigerians will return back to the country. The reason why many people are leaving Nigeria is not even about remuneration alone. It's about working in a system whereby your work is well appreciated. It's not even about medical doctors alone. It's cut across every profession. So the emergence of Peter Obi, one, he has done it before. There is a record to show for it. Somebody that built a teaching hospital from scratch to finish. Somebody that have the record of having one of the best health system recorded by Bill Gates, or awarded by Bill Gates, $1 million as far back as 2014. Is it 2010 or 20 something? And this kind of man have what it takes to turn around the things that is already degraded in Nigeria. So the point here is, if Peter Obi wins, he will win. When Peter Obi wins, you will see, number one, the policy will change. The major problem Nigeria is having is the policy makers. People making the policy are not sincere. So once we have a very sincere, somebody that the people can trust and making the right decision, ensuring that he understands that Nigeria is the highest, have the highest level of maternal mortality and infant mortality rate in the world, even more than China, more than India. There is no way people will not want to come back and practice in a situation whereby things will work perfectly. People practice in this further part of the world. We are here because they have good policy makers, not because of the money. You are working because you know that if you call for A, you get A. If you need B, you get B. If you need C, you get C. Not like the Nigerian situation currently, that if you need A, you have to first of all go to meet Z, Y, D, and a lot of things. Nobody is ready to do the right thing. So, emergence of Peter Obi, I can assure you that the policy we'll be making will be so enticing that majority of people will want to come back to the country. And Zambia is an example. Zambia was able to have a leader that understands this, that is very, very ready to change the country. And you can see how the country has been turned around within just 2 years of him becoming a president.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Francis Oluwaseyi. We're going to be going on a very short break, okay, but we're going to be back to continue the conversation. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, can you get a vote? Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour Party, can you get a vote? Labour Party, Labour Party, Labour say, Mama, Papa, Nama, Labour Party, Mama, Papa, Nama, Labour say, Mama, Papa, Nama, to be Labour Party, Mama, Papa, Nama, to Labour Party.
Mr. Peter Obi's administration built from scratch Chukwuemeka Odumegwu University Teaching Hospital with 25 building structures. His government funded transformation of massive infrastructural development, accreditation of 12 health institutions and 2 hospitals, and also built 10 maternal and childcare centers across the state. He is the first governor to purchase medical equipment worth over 135 million naira and 50 ambulances for the health sector in Anambra State, which remain functional till today. He built and equipped Dr. Jonwilo Heart Center in St. Joseph Hospital, Adazinnuku, where heart operations are performed. Anambra State is the first state in Nigeria to distribute more than 30,000 computers to secondary schools. Mr. Peter Obi distributed about 700 buses to secondary schools in Anambra State and built 200 primary school blocks. He donated the sum of 300 million naira to Anglican churches and 440 million naira to Roman Catholic churches to rehabilitate their missionary schools. During his tenure, he gave 1 million naira each to more than 160 first-class graduates. To promote reading culture in the state, he went ahead to build a well-equipped library known as Prof. Kennedy DK Library, Awka.
You're welcome back to the program Diaspora Diaries on Obidatti Family TV. We've been talking with Dr. Francis Oluwaseyi all the way in London. He's a medical practitioner and also a member of the Doctors for Peter Obi Support Group and also Southwest for Peter Obi Support Group. It's good to have you, Dr. Francis. We're going to continue the conversation. All right. I believe that you're following the trend and what is happening in the country right now. You are aware of the Naira swap that is going on in the country and the controversies around it. Just recently, the Supreme Court restrained the federal government and CBN from going ahead with the deadline. That's the February 10th deadline of the Nigerian Naira swap of the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes. And you can see the kind of hardship that it has created and the kind of political tension that it's also creating. What is your take on this whole CBN policy?
Well, the CBN policy is a very complicated stuff. The truth is, it is a very important policy for the government. And we all know the reason why APC government seems to be the only people antagonizing this policy. It is very obvious that it's because of probably they want to use the white votes. I just want to wonder that people have endured, people have suffered, people have passed through a lot of things for almost 8 years. We only need like a few days to elections to actually, let me put it, to election, let me put it like that. So if people have, the policy itself is a very good policy because number one, they have been able to rake over 2 trillion naira. 2, they have been able to, how can I put it, curb a lot of inflation, even though it may not be significant, but at least there is a drop in inflation since the beginning of the currency. I think if I want to be very realistic, just that I don't want to undermine people that are suffering, people that are passing through a lot of severe pain, which is understandable. But the long-term effect of this policy is very good. But if you look at the reason why this money is being scarce, it's not the fault of the CBN. I can assure you that it's the fault of some of these bank managers. So what I think the government can do is to checkmate those bank managers that are holding that new currency, because that is where the problem is from. I was told that in Edo State alone, they have about 1 billion new currency, 1 billion naira worth of new currency. But people are suffering it. So if I want to be, personally, the policy is good if it is properly implemented, because it's going to curb food buying, it's going to reduce inflation, and it's going to ensure that we have a free and fair election. But because of the fact that the bank managers are holding it, it makes it look as if it's a bad policy. So the only way I will suggest is that the government should chase those people that are actually doing that to ensure the free flow and ensure that the policy is not reversed. That is my own decision.
Right. And so from what you have said now, the changing of the naira now is to curtail vote buying. Okay. It's somehow very controversial because it's the APC government that is introducing this policy, and yet it's still the APC candidate that is complaining about it the most. All right, so it's the APC now fighting the APC. That's one question. Secondly, is there no other way to curtail vote buying apart from changing the currency? Is changing the currency and putting hardship upon the citizens the best way and only way to curtail vote buying?
Well, I'm very sorry. I may have to go very soon. This may be my last questions, actually.
Okay.
Now, the point here is vote buying is something that the problem we have about this current government is that APC have made us so poor. APC have made about 133 million people of Nigerian poor. It's more or less like you have a fowl, and APC have removed all the feathers, and they have the fowl to now fly. There is no way the fowl will fly. They have made us so poor that, number one, if they give anybody that have not even seen 20,000 naira in the last 6 months, 20,000 naira just to vote for them, it will be difficult for that person not to actually obey them, even if he's an obedient. Two, majority of people have no jobs. They rely so much on these senators to give them jobs. So there will be like a consequence, like you have to do this thing for me. You have to ensure that you do this before I can give you before I can get you the job. Because most of them are trying to look for re-election. So the only way one of the major way of curtailing this vote buying, I will be sincere with you, is to ensure that there's money scarcity. But definitely it's going to affect the populace. But I feel it's just a transient pain of just 2 weeks to election. People have been suffering for the past 7.5 months. There have been a lot of insecurity. There have been a lot of people dying. There have been a lot of multidimensional poverty. People hold COVID-19, palliative. They have never been uproar. They have never been aggressive like this. So if you look at the intention of the people, it's been motivated by these politicians. So the way I want to say they should use security to checkmate them. The truth is, most of the security men are compromised. So it is about this sensitization, which we have been doing, that don't sell your vote. People are more aware now that there's possibility of people buying your vote. That is the only way that, apart from reducing the availability of cash, apart from that, people are suffering. And that is the intention of the APC. They have weaponized poverty so much that 10,000 naira is enough to buy people's conscience. So we just need to continue to sensitize and ensure that people should not sell their votes. Thank you. I think I have to go now.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Francis. We understand that you have to go. You had to make out time for us for this interview from work, and we understand. We appreciate the time that you already spent with us, and we commend you for the work that you're doing, and we'll ask you to continue to do the work, and victory is assured for us in the end. Grace, you want to say something?
Yeah, I really want to appreciate him personally and the doctors over there as well. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up as well.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, viewers at home, we hope that you have been able to learn a thing or two from today's episode of the program. One thing that struck me again is the comments he made about vote buying. He said that people are poor, people are impoverished. So when they are being offered little amount of money, it's easy for them to sell their conscience. So I'm wondering if this whole naira scarcity is a deliberate measure, okay, to make the people want money and susceptible to the vote buying.
Yeah, because I've been wondering, that's like right now there's scarcity of money. Do you get that? And the election is like 17 days to election. So I don't know how the presidents want to help in that matter. I don't know how they really want to help, in the sense that people can actually sell their votes just because of that money and stuff like that. So I don't know about that. What do you think?
It's really confusing because we don't understand clearly what their aim is. Some people have said that they've made this money scarce so that when they give it to you on election day, you do their bidding, you vote for them, because people don't have cash now. And someone even said that these governors and these politicians, that they have access to this cash.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the bank managers and the bankers that are hoarding money will definitely sell it to the politicians at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So the money still returns to them at the end of the day. The money that you're trying to maybe stifle from them and keep it in a low or few amount in their hands still gets back to them. That's the new note, still gets back to them, and they still use it to buy people's votes. It doesn't make so much sense to me.
But let's not look at the negative part. Someone was like, the scarcity of the money is so that they could not be able to bring it out during the election. How true is that?
Yes, that is the idea that we got initially.
Yeah,
okay?
but now things are
It's a little different. Now, the argument was that President Buhari wanted to bring in the new notes so that people that are hoarding the old notes will not be able to use it to buy people's votes. Okay. But now, even the new notes are getting back to the hands of these politicians. They're getting back to the hands of these politicians. So this whole effort, and this whole stress that the citizens have to go through, what is it for? Is it all for nothing? Well, at the end of the day, we'll find out in a few days, and we'll see where all this is leading to. You can drop your comments about this topic and the topics that we raised during the interview on any of our social media platforms. We are at Obidatti Family TV on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All right. If you're a Nigerian in the diaspora and you're interested in being a part of the program, all right, you can also reach out to us on any of these platforms and we will reply your messages. Right, you can also follow us individually on our social media platforms. I am at official PCatch across all social media platforms. What about you, Grace?
You can follow me on all social media platforms at Signal Empire.
Yes. All right. This is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of the program Diaspora Diaries, but we'll be back again tomorrow to continue the program. Do well to join us again tomorrow and have a wonderful, wonderful day. God bless you.